D, wait for it, delightful.
Check out the name tag. You're in my world now, Grandma.
What's up, nerds? So I just finished the last episodes of Stargirl, and wow, what a great episode, and what a way to finish off this season. I mean, the visual effects were great, the characters were great, the storyline was great, it was so good. So I'm going to talk about this season and give you my review, but before I get started, I just want to say that if you like what I do here and you enjoy independent content here on YouTube, please consider subscribing to my channel. YouTube is doing their annual bot cleanse and old account purge, and you know, there always is a little bit of collateral damage. So I just ask that you please like, share, and subscribe. And if you do, I thank you in advance. So let's get started on this review. I can't believe how good this show is. I mean, personally, when I heard that they were going to do a Stargirl TV show for the DC universe, my first thought was, is anybody looking for this? Because I know I'm not. And I would say I was pleasantly surprised by how good this show is. I mean, it's not necessarily a must-watch, but I would say definitely watch it because it's very good. I do have to say, though, that if you are a comic book fan, this is a must-watch, but I also think it's good for, like, mainstream audiences that doesn't know anything about comic books. I think that you'll like it, too. This show is so much like the source material. I almost felt like I was reading a comic book watching it. I mean, I wouldn't say that this show is so much a Stargirl show as it is a JSA show or a JSA Junior. When the show started with the fantastic and expensive opening sequence when the Injustice Society was attacking the Justice Society's mansion, I was very impressed and also a little worried that the rest of the show wouldn't keep up with that, with the visual effects and action sequences from that first scene. Now, even though I don't think Geoff Johns is the best writer, you gotta give it to him and give him credit for this show and the fact that he's the show creator and the showrunner, and he wrote the first 3 episodes, which were pretty good. In fact, I would say that every single episode is not only exciting and has one action sequence / fight scene, which are usually really good. It's also funny and has at least one surprise for each episode. It was a lot of money well spent, in my opinion, and there were a lot of Easter eggs, no filler episodes, I felt, and this show takes itself very seriously, which I appreciated very much. So let's take this character by character, and I'm gonna do this in order of my favorite to my least favorite, and I'm just gonna tell you about them and their progression through the show and yada yada yada. But I first want to start, and we're gonna do the JSA first, okay? So I want to start off with Luke Wilson as Pat Dugan, aka Stripes, aka Stripesy, all that good stuff. Now, Wilson is awesome in this show. He sells every single line with such a convincing flair that you have to love him. I mean, my favorite thing about him in the show was his sidekick perspective on the whole situation of being a superhero. I thought that was really great. I thought that he was like this kind of like blue-collar Iron Man, which I really, really loved. I mean, he's got this huge suit. It was really great. The suit was great. I mean, the visual effects on this show were always spectacular, and the visual effects on his suit were always great and everything. There was only one problem I had with his wife, which I'll talk about that when I get to her character. But as far as Pat Dugan goes, that character, and Luke Wilson, I just love this character. He was my favorite part. I think mostly because he was the father character and I'm a dad, so I got what he was saying throughout the show, and I liked his balance between being a superhero and a sidekick superhero and being a parent. So the next one I want to talk about is Courtney Whitmore, aka Stargirl, and that was played by Brec Bassinger. So at first I didn't know if I liked Brec Bassinger in the show or if she was just going to be your typical teenage CW type, but I thought as the show progressed, she became so much more. I actually really liked the character a lot, and I never read any of the Stargirl or the JSA comic books with her in it. I mean, I did read comic books where she makes like an appearance, and she may have had like a line or two, but I've never read like a Justice Society of America comic book, or at least if I have, I don't remember, where that character is very prominent. So I think that she's fantastic, though. One thing that I did like that kind of explained some of the things that she was away was that she has a gymnastics background. Now in the show, and I felt that added to her abilities to use the staff very quickly, and also she didn't have to have like this like montage of her learning how to fight because she already knew how to flip and tumble and all that. So I thought that was very helpful. I mean, she used the staff as a gymnastics bar, and she was just flipping around and everything. And I thought that, you know, that gymnastics background really explained it really, really well. Because a lot of people would just be like, oh, she's a Mary Sue. She knows how to do this stuff. But she wasn't a Mary Sue because they told us she was a gymnast. So that explained that away, which I really liked a lot. So then my next favorite character was Amy Smart as Barbara Whitmore. I know, not a superhero, but I really did like this character. I like the whole melding of two families and having that blended family dynamic. I also like that her and Luke Wilson come from, Amy Smart and Luke Wilson come from a movie background. I really felt that helped the show a lot. I do think they should have told Courtney's mom, Barbara, a little bit earlier about their whole superhero thing. He kept wanting to tell Barbara their secret, and Courtney kept saying no. And I really think that Pat should have stepped up and just told her sooner, because I just look at how helpful she was, how helpful she became, like in those last 2 episodes. I mean, it wasn't much, but she could have done much more if they had just told her their little secret like 5 episodes earlier. I mean, she could have been their little spy. Next, I want to talk about Yolanda Montez, aka Wildcat 2, and that's played by Yvette Monreal. And I have to say, I liked this character. I felt bad for her of what happened to her with the exposing of the nude photos that she had taken for her boyfriend. I didn't blame him 100% because he didn't leak those photos. It was the character of Shiv that did that. But I felt bad for her, and I feel bad because that happens, you know, to people, especially women these days, where, you know, there's this revenge porn and some people release photos that were supposed to be intimate for somebody privately. But I did like her redemption, you know, coming back from that, her being like this, you know, depressed puppy type, but then she found her strength and became Wildcat, and she was a great Wildcat. So next I want to talk about is Rick Tyler, and that was played by, aka Our Man 2, and that was played by Cameron Gelman. Now this character, I didn't like this character that much, only because he was so angry all the time. Even when he became a superhero, it was like, I'm gonna go beat this guy up and there's nothing you can do about it. And the whole time I'm just like, listen, I got it. Your parents died, your uncle sucks, okay? But you are just a big D to everybody. Like, there is nothing nice about you, and I don't understand why anybody would want to give you superpowers, because you don't deserve them and you haven't earned them. And like I said, he was just a D the whole time. There was a little bit of redemption for me when he didn't kill Solomon Grundy in that final episode, but at the same time I just go, you know, one good deed doesn't change a lifetime of bad ones. And I'm not saying he's a bad guy, I'm just saying he was a jerk, and, you know, maybe he should have been humbled before the end of that. And I don't think not killing Solomon Grundy was really humbling. So, next I want to talk about is Trey Romano, who played Mike Dugan. Now, this character, in my opinion, was so freaking annoying. Like, I could not stand him throughout the entire season. Even at the end when he killed Icicle, which we'll talk about that in just a second. But even when he killed Icicle in the end, when he's all like, you get the most important task of all, you get to guard the dog. And he was like, I'm going to do this kind of thing. I was just super annoyed with this character. But I do feel that, but I did like when he talked to Courtney about the stepdaughter, stepfather relationship. And he's like, he's my dad, not your dad. You know, he doesn't spend time with me. It was the stepmom that showed up to his science fair, not his dad, his real dad. And I did like that aspect of it, but I still didn't like the character because he was super annoying. And plus, I don't know anybody that acts like that or has ever acted like that. They're all like, oh yeah, you got to make the Pop-Tarts with the pickle juice or whatever he said in that episode. It was just crazy. I just didn't care for him. So then of the JSA, the good guys, my least favorite character was Beth Campbell, who was Dr. Mid-Nite number 2, and that was played by Jaquila Washington. This character, in my opinion, was completely useless. I mean, it wasn't her that was the superhero. It was the AI in her goggles that was superhero. And I really just felt like she was annoying. She was useless. And I just don't understand why they needed her in the first place. She only suited up like once, maybe twice. This character has to step it up in season 2 as far as like fighting abilities. She's got to step it up because it was just, she was only there to use those goggles and have her best friend. And the whole time I'm just like, you got to learn other skills then, because you haven't learned anything. I mean, it was your goggles that did all the work for you. You just sat there and maybe typed a little bit. But in all honesty, you need to step it up. And I really felt like with all the representation in this show, here you have the black character that's literally not really doing all that much. So now we're going to, let's move over to the Injustice Society and let's talk about these great bad guys. I mean, I think the show has some of the best bad guys I've ever seen. And they were intelligent and organized, which I like in my villains. And one thing I didn't like was their whole, let's change everybody's minds and everything. Their end game was not that great in my opinion, but we'll talk about that a little bit more. So first I want to talk about my favorite one, which was Jordan McKent, which was Icicle, which was played by Neil Jackson. Now, as a leader of the Injustice Society, he is just a fantastic villain. I don't know how I feel about some of the political aspects of the show and Icicle as a character, but I did like that he was fully committed, and it was like one of those things where he believes what he's doing, and in what he believes is he's doing right for the country in that situation. So I did like that and appreciated that. Especially the acting was great as far as him goes, and the visual effects were great. Now this next character I want to talk about is Cameron McKent, which is his son, which will probably become Icicle 2 in season 2, but which was played by Hunter Sanson. And I have to say, this character, I really don't have any like opinions on him as far as whether he was bad or good, because he was barely in the show. I think with the like total of maybe like 3 scenes. And I just want to get him out of the way. He doesn't really fall in a ranking because he wasn't in it that much. But I hope to see him get those Icicle powers for season 2. Going back to Icicle, I don't like how they killed him off in this season. I don't like the whole aspect of once they become ice, they're ice. I like to just think of it as they have a layer of ice over them, because they also did that in X-Men Days of Future Past with Iceman, and he gets killed by that Sentinel when they're choking him, and then they break his head off, and it's just an icicle. I just don't like it. So next I want to talk about is Henry King Sr., aka Brainwave, played by Christopher James Baker. I mean, one thing that I really liked about Brainwave is the scene when they're at the parent-teachers night at the high school, and Courtney runs into him, and she thinks, Brainwave! And he can hear her because he's a telepath. And I was like, oh, hey, dum-dum, he's going to know what you're saying. And he really sells Brainwave through things like his posture and his facial expressions, and I really felt like he sold this character as a true villain, especially when he kills his son. I want to talk about Henry King Jr. just for a second here, which was played by Jake Austin Walker. This character also doesn't rank for me because he was in it, but I didn't feel like he was like really in it. He shows up, he gets his telepathic powers, and then he dies. He gets killed by his own father, and that's why I like Brainwave Sr., because he is in it to win it, even if he has to kill his own son. And he killed his wife. So I really liked this character a lot. So then I want to talk about Dr. Shiro Ito, Dragon King, played by Nelson Lee. I liked this character. I don't think they showed him without his mask enough, but I understand why they didn't do it. It's probably cheaper to not show him without his mask. But I did like this character, and I thought it was great, and I liked his whole, his like soldiers, and he was like, Next I want to talk about is Shiv. Now this is Cindy Berman, and this is played by Meg Delancey. I liked this character a lot, only when she became the supervillain. When she was the high school student, she was very Mean Girls, and I didn't like that about it because her acting when she was that didn't impress me all that much. But I did like her as Shiv, and I can't wait to see her in season 2. I really liked also the fighting sequences that she did. So next I want to talk about Sportsmaster, and he was played by Neil Hopkins, and we'll just throw in Tigress also. We'll talk about them as a duo, and that was played by Joy Osmansaki. I think that's how you say it. Now, Sportsmaster, I didn't like his whole, when in the comic books, he didn't come off like this gym rat kind of thing, like he does in like no carbs and everything. And then Tigress, I don't really know this character all that much from the comic books because I didn't read anything with her in it, so this is my introduction to her. But I did like her. I didn't like how, going back to Sportsmaster, we'll talk about him real quick. So going to him, I didn't like his persona as a character. I thought maybe he should be more like stoic and very like not talky, just more killy. And then I didn't like how these two characters were like kill hungry. Like they were just like they just wanted to kill everybody and everything, and they enjoyed it. And I didn't like that a lot. So the last I want to talk about is, for the ISAs, I want to talk about the other ones, and we're just going to loop them in. So that includes Solomon Grundy, the Fiddler, the Gambler, and the Wizard. Now, first off, I felt like the guy that played the Wizard, I didn't write it down in my notes, but I felt like that he really made the Wizard feel like a true bad guy. I personally always thought that this character in the comic books was really weird and not really like useful / scary / whatever or whatnot. But the actor really sold this character in the show, and the show really wrote him really well, and I did appreciate that. As far as Solomon Grundy goes, I didn't think that the CGI was great except for the first episode and the last episode. In between there, when he kills Our Man Senior and his wife, I felt like that was kind of like whatever, and then you always see him through the bars and everything. I hope to see this character again sometime in the future. Maybe not in season 2, but I do hope to see him again in the future. As far as the Fiddler goes, again, I don't think that they used this character enough. This was the second Fiddler. I believe that the first Fiddler was her husband, but they really didn't go into that. Her getting killed off was stupid to me. I mean, I understand that they're making way for her son to become the new Fiddler, but her getting killed off just because she insulted the Sportsmaster and Tigress was like ridiculous, but at the same time, I get it. The Gambler, on the other hand, this was just a glorified hacker, and I didn't like his whole I love my money so much kind of thing. He was just kind of annoying, and I didn't care for him as a character, but just because he was a douche. So, talking about the future for season 2, I will be doing a separate video for this, and I will give you my thoughts and everything. But I do think that one thing that they definitely need to do is build up the new JSA and all that stuff. And as far as that final scene with Sylvester Pemberton being alive, I don't know if this was a good choice, just because I just really don't think that bringing him back it will bring in conflict as far as should Whitney give up the staff and give it back to the original owner of it, or if she should keep it. I think she's going to keep it because then they wouldn't have a show. But I don't think that Sylvester Pemberton should ask for it back. But of course he will, because it'll just be a good storyline for season 2. So in conclusion, this is a very well thought out superhero origin story. And we all know we love origin stories when they're done well. And I think that this is definitely one of them. To me, this is one of the best DC shows out there right now. It's a family-friendly show, but definitely dark enough to be interesting and a wonderful DC property. So tell me, what did you guys think about Stargirl Season 1? What was your favorite part? What was your favorite episode? Who's your favorite character? Who's your least favorite character? And what do you think they should do in the future? Go ahead and leave all your comments in that section down below. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. I won't mind. If you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. I'd greatly appreciate it. Leave a comment because it feeds the algorithm. And I will see you guys on the next video. You guys have a good day. Bye.